Hey everybody, Stu Smith here, going live. Hope you are well. Today, Tuesday morning, getting this week rolling. Build some consistency with day 2. Keep on crushing the week. So, um, going live here on YouTube and on Instagram as well as Facebook. Um, and today we're going to talk a little bit about fall season training. And here's one reason why we're a month out from the fall season coming. We're also in week 8 of our summer training cycle, which, if you're familiar with our block periodization model, we do every 4th week, we do a little lift week during this cycle just to deload from the miles and the reps of high rep calisthenics, high mileage running, and we pull back a week and just do some lifting maintenance. Which is always fun. It's a good break in the cycle. Rests our joints a little bit from the miles and the reps and helps us maintain some of those hard-earned gains from our previous lift cycle. But it also makes the upcoming season exciting gives us a reason to be excited for the upcoming fall season, which starts transitioning out of the high mileage, high reps and starts doing what I call a 50-50 split, where we'll warm up with calisthenics, we'll lift, and then we'll do a moderate cardio on the back end. Very similar to what we would do in the winter, but we just are progressing slowly down the backside of that bell curve, so to speak, of our running mileage. So we don't just drop down to like 10 miles a week. We're actually, probably in that 30s, 35 miles a week. This week we're only doing 20 miles a week, so almost cut it in half. And we'll start tapering down during those first few weeks of the fall. Not quickly, but about the same percentage as we came up, about a 15% decrease, until we get to about 20 miles a week. And we'll kind of hover there for a little bit, work on speed on that back half of the fall, and then we'll drop it down a little bit more in the winter to where we focus more on lifting and strength and power, work on some speed work. So our runs are shorter, but they're faster. And that's our cycle. This is just a periodization model I created over 25 years ago. It's called seasonal tactical fitness periodization. This is just one of 4 in that series. There's other years where I created this. In fact, the first one I ever created is an old school book you might remember called Maximum Fitness. It was a year-long workout that had this cycle of training in it. And these are just latter years of that cycle. New workouts, different choreography of exercises, new ideas, added mobility exercises to help not only with just the aches and pains of running and lifting, but the needs for more mobility in the hips, knees, and ankles for swimming and treading and things like that, streamlining. So anyway, that's my cycle, and I usually take about 4 or 5 minutes to talk about something that we're doing in the week before I start taking questions as you guys congregate on here. So we got some people now. If you guys got questions, go ahead. If not, I'll jump right into the CSS critique. I got some submitted videos this week from folks who wanted some help with their CSS. Also, a few local videos of guys here swimming and just needed some fine tuning of their stroke, so to speak. So I guess since I don't see any questions, why don't we go right into the sharing of my screen and we pull up this swim. This was submitted this week. All right, so check this out. I thought I've seen everything. I have not seen this before. This is really a new issue that I'm not sure where he got the idea to do this, but you don't want to do this off the wall. All right, and watch. Here we go. So he kicks off the wall. That looks good. He could glide longer. he's already in his stroke now. And originally I thought he was going to be coming up for his first breath right here. Um, so give yourself some time off that wall, at least 4 or 5 seconds before you double arm pull, if you're even doing the double arm pull. I'll tell you this, watching this is double arm pull is not that effective. So need to work on that or just take it out. Kick off the wall, super streamlined, hands on top of the other, look like a torpedo in the water, and then start your stroke with a first breath. Now watch this. Kicks off the wall, immediately double arm pulls, don't want to do that. And he gets a first stroke, gets a second stroke, gets a third stroke, gets a fourth stroke, and on his fourth stroke, he finally breathes. Now that, I don't know where he came up with the underwater side stroke, but that's not what you do. You don't swim underwater that way, and you don't swim the side stroke that way. And by the way, this is not the CSS, and sorry for the sideways video, that's the way it came. If I could turn it around, I would. Should have edited it before this, but this is the elementary side stroke. And notice it's not the top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide of the CSS. It's bottom arm, top arm with a kick at the same time and a glide in the lead arm, trail arm position. So watch this. This is the grab an apple, put it in the basket. Yeah, this didn't help. Grab an apple, put it in the basket. This is the elementary side stroke. And he's not really doing a scissor kick. He's doing a breaststroke kick, which is okay. It's just, if you're going to do the elementary side stroke, you need to do a scissor kick. But you definitely don't want to do this. Underwater elementary side stroke is not an effective way to get underwater across the pool. So if you notice, it goes bottom arm, top arm kick, hold the glide. Bottom arm, top arm kick, hold the glide. This is not the CSS. This is a legal stroke, and it's completely fine to do. But as you can see, it's not good. It's not fast. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend doing it that way. Let me, I see a couple of comments in here. Let me just pull up the next video and we can okay, so a couple of comments over here. I'm a little backwards than y'all. 10 to 15 minute MAF heart rate, assault bike, Jeff Nichols hypertrophy, 4 weeks. Every 4th week I do Stu Smith Air Force Special Warfare prep. That's a good one. It works. And retest at 8 weeks. You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's a great way to do it. You got a system that I know works with Jeff, and I know mine work. So my advice is see which one works best for you. And I think that works. So give it a shot. And it really depends on your goals too. You need to put on some mass, do a hypertrophy, gain weight cycle. Need to put on some strength, do a strength cycle. Need to work on your cardio, do a cows and cardio cycle. That is not the difficult part. Finding a system that works for you is probably the hard part. And sometimes you just got to test them out. Struggling with learning to do the egg beater kick. Definitely am lacking with mobility. Any other tips? I don't know. Did I send you your egg beater might be a mobility problem article? Like your treading issue might be a mobility problem? My advice is practice both. In fact, I do it this way. Do 5 minutes of treading and then bring a foam roller, a pad, and start working those stretches in this article. Basically the frog pose with some variations, and start working your hips, knees, and ankles for 5 minutes. So basically treat it like a tread mobility day where you tread for 5 minutes and you do stretching and foam rolling for 5 minutes. Work that hip, knee, and ankle mobility. You do that for 45 minutes, you got yourself a good workout. Now, it's not going to happen all at once. It's probably going to take you 3 to 4 weeks before you actually build mobility. You might get a little looser, might be a little more flexible, but actually build that mobility is going to take at least 2 to 3 weeks, sometimes 4. I think the underwater side stroke is from Jeff Nichols. He was talking about swimming underwater makes you faster than the. Well, Jeff and I would disagree on that. I think there are better underwater strokes than the underwater side stroke. Because gliding like this is not as effective as gliding like this. Is hydrodynamics would suggest you want to glide like this and look more like a torpedo. All right, let's see what else we got. See if we got anything over here on Instagram. Just people signing in, checking in. No comments over there. Let's go into CSS critique again. I may have shown this one, but it's just such a good one. I can't stop showing it. It's that good. So if you really want to work on your streamline, you do this. And this is how you streamline for underwater swims as well. Kick off that wall and do the double arm pull. In fact, if you just keep repeating this, kick off the wall and then the kick and recover right there, that's how you underwater swim. Double arm pull, you hold that glide right there after the double arm pull, and then you kick and recover, hold that glide right there, and just repeat. That's your underwater swim right there. Double arm pull and glide, kick, recover, and glide. Now this is how he transitions into the CSS off the wall. This is about as smooth as it gets. This is a 7-minute pace here as well. So nice turnaround, can't beat that. Just really solid. Top arm, bottom arm, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi pull. I always yell at him a little bit on that high elbow return, but I just didn't on this one. But it's an easy fix. So, but this is smooth as it gets. I'll show it one more time just because it's that good. Top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. So you can see the difference between this and that elementary side stroke. Now, I will say this. I've seen guys crush the elementary side stroke. If I teach him how to do the elementary side stroke, I guarantee you he'll be 730 on the elementary side stroke. So you can make the elementary side stroke fast, but it requires a solid kick, a tight streamlined glide, and if you can't glide in this position, you're really slowing yourself down. I mean, look at that. Bicep shoulders on his ears, head tucked, one hand on top of the other. Perfect streamline. He just glides. He glides a whole body length every kick. Man, tell you, I got that one posted up on Instagram and on TikTok. You know, just do yourself a favor and check those out because it really doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion. So I have a couple of others that I'd like to share with you guys as well. Let me get that one just ready. Looks like, let me see. Anybody else got any questions? Going to take questions in between if you got them. Looks like Instagram's just watching over there. Nobody asking questions. And I think I got them all over here on the YouTube channel. So let's go back to the CSS. Boom. All right, so let's start off here, see what we got. Good kick off the wall. I like this. Double arm pull's good. Transitions into the stroke. Nice. Good. So top arm, bottom arm, kick and glide. Now, I will say this. I like to have my head out of the water when that top arm pull happens. And if you notice, he could be a little better streamlined. Can't really see it. See that right there? See how his head's popped up? Compare that to the last guy who was just swimming, and he just has his head down. So good arm placement. Just put that head down a little bit. You don't have to be looking forward during the swim. Just look right down at the bottom or at the wall. Just, understand where you are by looking at the bottom of that black line. It tells you when you're about to hit the wall when it turns to a T. But yeah, keep your head down. You'll glide a lot further that way. Kicks off the wall, double arm pull, not bad. This isn't bad. He tends to pop up a little bit on the breath. You could turn your face out of the water. See, because what's happening is you need to come up to breathe during this bottom arm pull, and look what the bottom arm pull is doing. Like that bottom arm pull is popping your head up right there. See that? You don't need that. What you need to do is turn your head with that top arm. Now my face is out of the water right here, and all I got to do is that bottom arm pull. I'm just inhaling while I pull that bottom arm pull. I don't need to use that bottom arm pull to push myself up. And some people do. I think what happens is when you are going horizontal and all of a sudden you push yourself up to go vertical, you tend to quit moving horizontal, and you have to recreate that momentum every time. So you can see it. You can see it right here. And by the way, this isn't bad. This is like looks like he's hitting that thing in like sub 9. This is in the 8s. I'd give this about an 850 pace if he could do it 9 more times. So head down needs to be in that glide position. It's got a solid kick, got a good glide. You could glide further with the head down. That's really the biggest thing I would fix here. And then you tend to pop your head up a little too much during that bottom arm pull. Don't need to do that. But these are minor fixes. I mean, could you get away with this? Absolutely. I mean, in the big picture, a 500-yard swim really doesn't matter. If you're under 9 minutes, you're solid. But what really matters if you're getting ready for Spec Ops programs like Buds is you got to do a 2-mile swim with fins, and you have to learn how to drown proof and underwater swim and tread, life save. That's going to be more important than you dropping this down to an 8. Because to be honest with you, no one cares if you swim an 8-minute or a 9-minute on the PST. It's just nice to be able to swim fast and be efficient with it. But there's more to swimming for Spec Ops programs than a 500-yard swim. It's the start, and you want to do it well, and you want to do it efficient so it doesn't wreck all your other events of the PST. But in the big picture, this is fine. All right, let's see what else we got. Tips for recovering back into the glide position. Yeah, just be streamlined with it. So whenever you go top arm, bottom arm, or you go double arm pull like you're doing underwater swim, you want to make sure your hands come up tight out here. Where a lot of people screw up is they're like recovering out here, and then they're gliding like this with their head up and their arms kind of canted. You want to bring everything up really tight and glide like this, straight as an arrow with your biceps squeezing your ears. That's a good recovery glide position. And if you're having trouble with the kick, you need to read my CSS Help Series article. And I'm going to put a link in the comment section. It's over here on the YouTube channel. I'll put it over here on, let's see here. I'll put it over here in the Instagram, but I know you can't click it. But if you read the title of this link, it's basically called the CSS Help Series, Quick Fix to Crushing the Swim. So read that, and you may see the article. If you can't find it, just Google CSS Help Series Stu Smith, and you'll find it. I don't know what happened to my that's weird. Maybe I just need to refresh over there. Instagram may go down. Just letting you know. There we go. We're back. Okay. So, all right. Other questions over here? Nope. no more questions. All right, so I am going to share my screen again and show another video. Somebody asked, is the dolphin kick worth it? Every time I see it, the swimmer goes insanely fast. Yeah, I mean, if you're good at the dolphin kick, here's the problem. Most people aren't good at dolphin kick yet, right? Especially if you're a non-swimming athlete. The guys you see going fast are the guys that are probably swimming athletes and are freaking studs in the water. But if you just do a bunch of flutter kicks and a lot of dolphin kicks and you don't know anything about flutter kicking and dolphin kicking, it's a complete waste of energy. I don't know if you saw the video I posted today. This is a water polo player, great swimmer, who was doing a lot of flutter kicks in between his stroke. This one isn't it. I'll talk about it in a minute. And then we took those flutter kicks away, and he was the exact same time. Less effort, same time. That's what you're shooting for here. Try to be efficient because you got to save your energy for things you're not necessarily good at doing. All right, so let's share this. Kick off the wall, top arm, bottom arm, kick. There you go. I like this. Got a little movement of the legs. Not a big deal. Tends to be, he's a big freestyler. This is one of those guys going Air Force, so he does a lot of freestyle. So you can tell when someone moves an arm and their leg does this little flutter kick thing. Sometimes that is something that is just a habit. You're used to doing more freestyle than the CSS. It's very common. So not that big a deal. They tend to be more rotational kicks anyway. If you notice, he uses them to help rotate them over to the left or to the right. But this is solid. Good kick off the wall. I mean, it's a 8-minute swim for the CSS. So you go top arm, bottom arm, kick, hold that glide. Let's see. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, pull. Nice. Now I like this. I still tried. I would be. My recommendation would still be try to take those little flutter kicks out. It's something you just got to consciously think about, even though you're subconsciously adding flutter kicks. You know, I will say in the big picture, this looks pretty relaxed. He's not like motorboating back there with his feet, so not wasting a lot of energy. Like I said, it's more of a relaxed freestyle kick added into that. So there's different styles of kicking for sure. You don't want to waste a lot of energy doing it. So I've been working with a couple of guys in the Air Force lately with their lead arm, trail arm. Let's see. And I'll show you the lead arm, trail arm with fins here in a second. Also, if you get shin splints, try to stay on a bike. Yeah. Okay. I guess you guys are answering each other questions over there. Go ahead. Where should someone start if they suck at every event and have no athletic background? Asking for a friend. I have a program called Calisthenics and Cardio. That is where I would start. Fortunately, I don't have a picture of it, but if you go to stewsmithfitness.com and look on that main page there, you'll see a book called Calisthenics and Cardio. It has a beginner plan, it has an intermediate plan, and you can even progress into a advanced plan, which, by the way, is ideal for going from not being able to even finish the PST into getting a competitive score on the PST. That one book alone will do that for you if you're a beginner. If you're not a beginner, I would suggest probably start, with this. If you're not quite passing the PST, can't quite swim the 500 without stopping, this is a good program to build into crushing that PST. So that's where I would start. Yeah, I figured that. Most people, whenever they are saying asking for a friend, they mean themselves, which I think is pretty funny. How does someone build fatigue resistance? By training to and through fatigue, right? That's how you do it. So something we do is we do a lot of active resting with our exercises. So we'll do, let's say, like a pull up, push up, dip, ab circuit. Okay. But we'll throw in a quarter-mile run every set and do that multiple sets. Sometimes we even get up to 19, 20 sets of that. That's 5 miles of running just with the added quarter-mile run in between. So, and you can build up, make it a pyramid. My advice is start with the pyramid because that's going to be a great assessment tool for you as well. So you start off at 1, go to 2, go to 3, go to 4, see how high you can go up the pyramid. You fail, you meet that failure mark, and then you resort on the backside of that pyramid. Let's say you get to 8, and then you go 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a good way to hit failure and be a little fatigued and still be pushing through that fatigue. On the pyramid's a classic workout for that. It's one of my favorites, just doing that one. And then I have another one called the superset, which is a volume building workout in all sub max rep range. So let's say you can do 10 pull-ups, 60 push-ups, and 60 sit-ups in 2 minutes. So I'll have you do 5 pull-ups, 20 push-ups, 20 sit-ups, and then go for a short run. And you do that 10, 20 times. All right, that's another way to build some sub-max volume, sub-failure volume even. You may fail on the later sets, but that's okay. You're just fatigued, but you want to push through that. And the other one is I call the max rep set workout. In fact, 3 favorite workouts to crush PT test. If you check out this article, this is one of my favorite ways to create a week worth of upper body training. It's not the one I only do. It's just one of my favorites that I've seen work really well. In fact, the first week of this program is basically that week. You do leg days, you do finning, you do treading, you do swimming on top of it. So there's everything added to it. But that's how we do it. And you also, build an aerobic base along the way. What's the quickest way to warm up before a heavy squat? Good question. We do this during our fall and winter lifts. We go pretty heavy. So we'll warm up with what we call the squat pyramid, just like I mentioned before. You do 1 squat, jog 50 meters, 2 squats, jog 50 meters, 3 squats. Mix in a few other exercises too along those 50 meters, like butt kickers, leg swings, Frankenstein walks, just little things that are going to work the hips, hamstrings, thighs a little bit. Work your way up to 10. 10, that's 55 squats that you've done, air squats, by the way, and a little bit of jogging and dynamic stretches in between. And then work your way up the weight. We usually start off with 1 plate on each side, hit that for 10 reps. Then, add another plate, whatever that is, that gets you to your body weight. So we'll do second set, we'll do a body weight lift where, I weigh 200, some guys weigh 185, somewhere between 185 and 200. If you have a partner, make that your second set, do that for 5 to 8. A lot of rest in between. You can walk it around, stretch out a little bit if you want. And then by that time, you should be getting ready to go a little heavier. You don't necessarily want to do a 1 rep max yet, but maybe a couple of 2 or 3 rep exercises as you build up your strength or your weight. I also do something too. I do that same warm up, and I do something I call 2 pops, where I'll go to 185, just do 2. 225, just do 2. 275, just do 2. 315, just do 2. So you just progress up, what you're normally capable of doing, just doing 2 reps resting along the way, and then you're done when you can't do 2. That's a way to do it. Not the way to do it, a way to do it. What kind of personalities do well in Spec Ops? I've heard some guys say being studs, but getting peered out because they didn't like them. Well, if you're a jerk, you probably will have horrible peer evaluations. It's not all about you and winning everything and leaving everybody behind. You're a lot of times you need to have the mentality of you're only as fast as your slowest person. Whether that's under a log or under a boat or in your squad, there's somebody that's not going to be as fast as you, or maybe you're that guy, right? Would you want everybody to just leave you behind and say, screw you? No, be a good teammate and maybe help with some suggestions. Make sure everybody's eating well and super hydrated, because let me tell you, 2 of the quickest ways to end your Spec Ops training career is go in dehydrated and go in underfed, because you're going to bonk and have low blood sugar, or you're going to be a heat casualty if you don't hydrate enough. You being the guy that just makes sure everybody's staying fueled is a good thing to be, right? It shows everybody that you care. They're adding salt and electrolytes to their food and drinks. All of that stuff's really important. And then, you see somebody struggling with an event that's mostly technique. You help them with that technique, later in the day. Maybe even spend the weekend going to the pool and practicing drown proofing with your boat crew. That's one thing we did. When I was in first phase and I had a boat crew, I just say, hey, anybody want to go to the pool on Saturday? We'll practice upcoming testing events. We'll do knot tying. We'll do boat drown proofing. And, everybody got some extra tips in there on practicing it. And then on Sunday, we went to a big brunch together and talked about other things. So, I mean, you just want to be a normal dude that's not a dick. That's basically it. Do you believe the moments that get people failed in buds are ingrained in us, or can we build habits to combat these mental weaknesses? Well, I will tell you this, Caleb, is that if I went to buds at 18 years old, there's no way I would have made it, period. I wouldn't have met the standards, first of all, because I was a powerlifting football player that barely passed the 1.5 mile run at the Naval Academy and failed sit-ups. And I was just not in that kind of shape. I needed a couple of years just to get myself in that specific level of conditioning, right? People think that, hey, I played high school football and lacrosse, I'll be solid. No, that's not necessarily true. You might be great at football and lacrosse, but not all of that transitions over without specific training of running and rucking and doing high rep calisthenics and swimming with fins and treading. All those little things that typically can get people kicked out because they either don't meet the standards or they quit before because of just pure anxiety of that event. Yes, you can definitely build habits and build your mental toughness prior to going that will ensure you do not fail under those types of events. 100%. I've been struggling with doing the 7-stroke 50-50s. Had a panic moment one day and it was sticking with me each time I'm reaching my limit. Do you have any suggestions for that? No, man, just keep swimming, and don't feel like you have to go 7 strokes. Add another stroke. There's no rule that you need 7 strokes. I'm assuming that's 7-stroke hypoxic, like skip breathing 7 strokes, or is that 7 strokes across the pool? I don't really care how many strokes. Well, I shouldn't say that. You don't want to be double-digit strokes, but getting 25 yards across the pool between 5 and 7 strokes is what I would call efficient. be honest with you, anything over 5 is starting to dabble in a little less efficient. So work on your efficiency. Make sure your kick is solid. Make sure your pull's good. Make sure you have a tight streamline and you're not doing some of the things like we showed you earlier that guys were doing on their streamline with their head up or their arms far apart. Just keep practicing. Do I have any experience with rehabbing herniated discs? I do not. Luckily, I have a herniated disc. And to be honest with you, when somebody comes to me with a herniated disc, I make sure they go to the doctor and get physical therapy and whatever they say whenever they're ready to start training, then I help them with their training. But I do not help with any rehab. One, because I'm not a physical therapist, and that's not what I do. Next question. Hey, Stu, I ran an 8:40 on the mile and a half, but I'm still a little overweight. That's great. I mean, be honest with you. If you're running 8:40, that's great. If you're a little overweight, don't sweat it because you're probably going to need a little weight just so you're not freezing your ass off if you're going to buds. If you're going to buds, because it's cold, right? If you're super lean, you're going to freeze your ass off. I mean, put it this way, if you're shaking in a swimming pool when the water's in the 70s and 80s, you're going to really shake in the ocean when the water's in the 50s and 60s. Having a little extra weight can help you with that little durability. And then by the time you get through, first phase and Hell Week, you probably drop some weight. And now you're ready to just crush the other events. Because really, be honest with you, buds after Hell Week, there's no more logs. There's no more boats. You might ruck a little bit. But it really turns into a triathlon. You're running, you're rucking, you're swimming, and you're doing high rep calisthenics. Might be some weights in there too and some assessments, but for the most part, it's just training. That's why cals and cardio, endurance and muscle stamina are such a requirement. But you need that strength and some mass to get through the first 4 weeks. How much should I weigh at 5'5" guy? I don't know. I've written an article about that. What's your height and weight, ideal height and weight at buds? And be honest with you, it doesn't really, it's just an opinion piece. So height and weight at buds, Stu Smith. There's an article I wrote. This is the best height and weight for buds. There's a little chart in here that, let's see, what is 5'5"? 65 inches? I'd say between 160, 170. That's what I said in this article, if you want to look at it. And once again, this is just my opinion. I've seen people heavier than this, and I've seen people lighter than this make it through buds. So I've seen guys 5'5", 135 make it through buds. So it can happen. What's the worst evolution for you in first phase? I would say probably under the boat is the worst. And I was strong. I didn't feel like I was getting crushed under the boat. It was just nonstop. I mean, everywhere you went, you were with that boat. And if you weren't running it, you were paddling it, which was much better than running it. Yeah, I just remember one day we were running to Chow, I guess, might have been first phase, might have been during Hell Week, I can't remember. But I just remember it felt like my shins were just on fire from running that boat. And it wasn't shin splints. It just hurt so bad. Luckily, it wasn't like a stress fracture or anything, and luckily it seemed to go away later in the day. But man, I just remember thinking, man, my shins are going to break if I'm not careful. So I went back, fixed my boots up a little bit, got some added cushion in there, just an insole that helped. I never had that experience again, but those are the types of things that you have to make adjustments for when you feel like, oh man, there's a hot spot, or there's a, it's causing a blister, or there's some pain that's really getting tweaked by a certain event. You need to go back, readjust, figure out why that's hurting, figure out ways to, relieve that pain, whether that is now massage tools or foam rolling or stretching or ice and heat, whatever, to make that go away. Sometimes it's just you got to spend some time licking your wounds in order to stay in that program. And that's any program for that matter. Let's see. Looks like I got all you guys over here on questions. Leif says, since I've been doing the PT resets, I've had fewer knots in my upper back and neck feels better. Just curious though, why are these exercises called a reset? Well, it's my nickname I gave them. And here's why. A lot of people do push-ups and bench press and overhead press and things that make them jacked like this, right? And it really screws up your posture. I mean, your shoulders you're kind of internally rotated. You got gigantic traps, and you can't put your hands over your head because you lack that mobility. So what this series of exercises does is it forces you to stretch your chest, flex your upper back, work your shoulders, full range of motion, and once again, that front side balancing and resetting the back side. It's really a posture exercise. And if you think about it, it's a core exercise. If you think about the core going from your neck all the way down to your hips, it is considered a core, part of the core system. And if you don't balance out your shoulder girdle between your upper back and your rear delts and your chest muscles and your front delts, you're going to be in a position that is not very healthy, right? And so you need to, balance it out, work on that posture, and that's what it does. It just kind of resets the posture. So that was the, I guess, method to the madness when I came up with that name, the PT reset. When doing pyramid workouts, how much rest should I take in between sets? I take very little. Especially if you're adding a run to every set, your rest is that run. And the way I arrange the pyramids is there's no muscle group that's getting worked twice in a row. So let's say I'm doing 4 exercises. I'm going to do pull-ups, push-ups, dips, and sit-ups. I'm going to arrange it so it's pull-ups, a pull exercise, push-ups, a push exercise, sit-ups or abs a choice, a third exercise, which is kind of a rest, believe it or not, and then dips again, which is another push exercise. Then you go for a little short run for a minute or two, quarter mile maybe, and you come back to the next set. That's plenty of rest. And if you want to get through that fatigue zone, that's how you do it. Morning, Stu. How do you deal with PST anxiety? Any suggestions on things? You know what? If you Google that term, PST anxiety, it's a thing, and I wrote an article for it. I think I called it PFT anxiety because I wrote it a long time ago, and believe it or not, the BUDS screening test was called the PFT, not the PST. So check out this article. It's on PST anxiety. Putting it in the comment section over here on YouTube. So by the way, if you guys are over here on Instagram, can't watch the whole show, want to watch what we started off with, see some of the videos that I critiqued, they're always up on my YouTube channel. If you go to Stu Smith 182 over on YouTube, you can subscribe and then get notifications when I'm going live and sharing videos and things like that. Good running warm-up exercise. You know what? When I warm up for running, you know what I do? I go running. Literally. my first mile of any run is a warm up. If I'm doing like for our hill day, it takes 2.5 miles just to get to the hill. Then we run 2.5 miles on the hill. Then we run 2.5 miles back for what's that? 7.5 typical. My first mile of that is a mix of kind of a squat pyramid every 100 yards. So do one squat, run 100 yards, two squats, run 100 yards. By that time I get about half a mile in that 10 sets, I'm done with warming up my legs. And I use that next half mile to warm up for my stride and my running the way I want it to be. And then I kick it in and start running. Sometimes I'll do a little stretch in there. Definitely do a calf stretch because I don't know if you've seen my calves. They're not running calves by any mean. They're just big genetic freak show of a calf. So I have to stretch my calves within that first mile of running. That's me. You need to find what works best for you. I've also warmed up with like a 5 or 10 minute bike, slight stretch, go ahead and run. So find out what works for you and do it. 4-minute dynamic stretches are a good warm up before running. Yep, absolutely. We usually do that as well. Part of that 100-yard run in between the pyramid has some dynamic stretches in it. Butt kickers, leg swings, you name it. Frankenstein walks. Following your calisthenics and cardio, if you can't do parts of the 30-day, should I keep redoing it? Nah, I wouldn't. I'd just move on. Take note, see what you had to alter. These things aren't personalized programs, so you may have to personalize it and skip something that you can't do, or if something hurts, you don't have a piece of equipment, right? Don't have a pull-up bar, can't do pull-ups, so you're going to have to alter it a little bit to do something that is parallel to that exercise you're skipping. So for instance, a pull down machine, banded banded pull-ups. If you don't have a pull-up bar, do dumbbell rows or barbell rows. Bicep curls, something that works the pulling muscles. Yeah, Stu Smith 182 is my Instagram handle. I'm sorry, is my YouTube handle. Let's see what else we got here. Got some more questions. Caleb answers yes, 7 strokes per breath. Yeah, that's the freestyle part. Just that's a conditioning issue. I wouldn't sweat that too much. Just keep working. Another thing too is don't start exhaling immediately to get those 7 strokes. My advice, if you're going for 7 or 8 strokes per breath on a freestyle, hold your breath for the first 4 seconds or the first 4 strokes, then start exhaling on the last 4 strokes, and you'll see it's a little bit easier to do. Still the same effect, but it's just a little bit easier to do. Oh, let's see. Best ways to get prep for boats on heads. You know what? Wrote an article on that. Boats on heads, Stu Smith. I think I wrote it for military.com a while back ago. Let's see. Strengthen your neck for carrying boats on heads. What do you know? Look at that. Half of these questions, if you ask and put my name into a Google search, you might find an article on that topic. Serious. I got over 1,000, probably 1,500 articles now. I hope to have the honor of getting a bald spot from boats on heads. Yep, you will do that. But it'll come back. Going to Google PT Reset. Definitely need that one. Yeah, it works. It's really good. It's also in my programs too. PT Reset and all these programs. What's the best ways to avoid rhabdo? I'm not fat, but a good amount of muscle at 215. Yeah, 215, you are a candidate for rhabdo. It just is. The more muscle mass you have, the easier it is to get rhabdo. Now, work on your endurance, work on your muscle stamina. I'd probably lay off the weights for a while on a cycle, especially if you're strong already. You don't need it. Let's work on some endurance, muscle stamina, mobility, because I guarantee you'll need that. Um, then see if you can lose some weight. That's going to be your probably biggest help. But also stay hydrated, have electrolytes, because it kind of rolls downhill, and it tends to roll downhill from becoming a heat casualty, um, bonking because you start cramping and stuff like that just from electrolytes, and then you keep on pushing through that and pushing through that. Next thing you know, um, you might add SIPE to it, which is swimmer-induced pulmonary um, edema, which basically means water in your lungs if you're going through buds and doing a lot of swimming and stuff. So that is another thing that can kind of snowball into it. And then next thing you know, you got rhabdo. In fact, I wrote an article on it. Rhabdo, Stu Smith. I think it's a military.com article again. Um, I wrote one called When to Start Training Again After Rhabdo. Here's an article, or here's an ailment we all need to know about. It really happens to deconditioned people primarily, basically overtraining. So as long as you can get your training to a level of high endurance, high muscle stamina, drop a little bit of weight, next thing you know, you're probably going to be fine and not be in a state of horrible overtraining. Going through selection, everybody's overtraining, but can your body recover from that quickly is going to be dependent on your preparation and how much time you're giving yourself to actually build that type of push yourself to fatigue and recover fast. Let's see here. All right. Looks like I got all the questions over there. Thoughts on Hell Day events at SOCOM Athlete? I love those guys. I think those guys are very professional with what they do. I've had Jason Sweet on my podcast. Um, I think it's a great way to just assess yourself. See if you have any weaknesses going through that. And I guarantee you, a lot of people discover, holy crap, I'm not as ready as I thought I was. I may need another 6 months just to be able to handle the load bearing activities that are involved when I do fireman carries, or I'm doing rucking, or I'm doing boats, or I'm doing logs. Those are types of things that if those are crushing you, you might want to build some strength. That might take a little time. If you're doing horribly on the runs and the swims, might want to take some time to build your endurance. I think they're great for that type of stuff. Also, do you get along with other people? Because if you think everybody's an asshole around you, chances are you might be the asshole. So, where do you fit into, this group of people that are trying to gel and become a team, because people are yelling at them if they don't. You know, there's some things you learn in those things. And a lot of people say it's a waste of money. I don't. I would have done one if I had that opportunity, for sure. 'Cause I was looking for all kinds of ways to, like, am I really ready? Testing myself, am I really ready? And you really don't know until you show up there and you say, "Oh, I can do this." All right. I do have a Facebook group. It's called Stu Smith's Tactical Fitness. Let me see. It's a closed group, so you guys can join it if you want. I'll uh, I'll let you in. I have to approve them all. Stu Smith Tactical Fitness Training. I used to post these videos on there too, but now I'm just posting articles on there. Um, so There's other people post stuff up there. Got a lot of police officers in there that are posting, ideas for training and things like that. So it's a fun group. It could be a little bit more monitored, I guess. I don't have time for everything, but it's a group up there. I don't know what meme you're talking about though. Oh, actually wrote an article on that. Okay, that'd be a good meme. You're right. Do I remember training LeBlanc? I don't. I didn't train LeBlanc. LeBlanc and I went through training together. So we have. I think we were in rollback land together. When I got injured third phase, I think he was still in first phase. So we had some time together, and then he wound up saving one of my classmates' lives because he was a corpsman, and did really well with his abilities to be a corpsman. Brought a guy back who was dead, had drowned, and brought him back. So yeah, I know LeBlanc. He's a good dude. Let's see. Should I focus any? Should I focus any at all on calisthenics? Absolutely. If weight training trains the same muscles used in calisthenics and prep for buds, man, I'm gonna smack you. Do you see a weightlifting test to get into buds? No. It's a high rep calisthenics. It's a running and a swimming program. If you're strong, you need to focus on calisthenics and cardio. If you're weak, you need to probably build a base of calisthenics and cardio first and then get strong. So, no, you can't. And here's why. You might be okay for a one set. Like, let's say you do a lot of bench press. You're good at bench press. You're probably capable of doing 80 to 100 push-ups. Not a problem. I was, whenever I could bench press, but here's the problem. After that, I was done. I could not do a 20% of that in the next set. And you want to be able to get multiple high rep sets in a row and be able to recover fast and do calisthenics pretty much nonstop for hundreds of repetitions. That's what it requires. I have this talk with people all the time. If you're going to take a fitness test, you should practice that fitness test in that elements. Otherwise, your Spec Ops dreams are over before they even start. You might not even pass that test. All right, folks, I got to head out. I am, well, you know what? I got time enough for one more question. Normie G, you got the last question. I swim CSS with fins, long distance in the ocean every day, all year. I'm now 60. Nice. And have been fine-tuning the stroke for years. It uses very little energy and is especially advantageous in rough seas. Hey, man, that's awesome. I love the CSS with fins. It's just a natural way to swim for me. So good job, man. Every day, that's a great way to do it. All right, guys. If you guys haven't gone over to StuSmithFitness.com, that's where you'll find a lot of these articles that I've been sending you to. I also write for military.com. You can find them over there as well. But check those out. I got programs over at Stu Smith Fitness. I got coupon code of 15%, live15. If you stuck around for this live for this long, I appreciate it. Go over there and save 15% over on StuSmithFitness.com on ebooks, books, programs. And come back and let me know how you do. And if you got questions, you can always ask me. That's the beauty of these live Q&As is that I'm available if you have questions. All right, guys. That's it for me. You guys have a good one. If I missed your question, just send it to me, stu@stusmith.com, and I'll answer it by email. Until next week, you guys have a good one.